Why, hello, Carol.
Why, hello, Daryl.
How art thou doing way over there?
I'm doing okay, hanging in there, trying to keep busy.
Yeah. This is the time to try to stay as mentally occupied as you can, I guess.
Yeah, the sad part is I just bought a new car right before I parked it in the driveway and didn't drive it for a month.
Well, think about all the gas and the miles you're saving on
I
right
have
now.
had the same tank of gas for about 5 weeks now. I'm
Which
only
is
halfway through it. So
what I suggest you do in order to avoid the stir craziness. Since gas is cheap, just go for a
go for a
drive.
drive. I have
Yeah.
been doing that occasionally. Just get in the car and drive somewhere.
Just get
So
a
yeah,
And
that is.
speaking of which, I didn't realize how far you live from the
Oh
podcast
God, yeah.
studio. So I
It's
just
not
want to say I'm
bad.
sorry.
It's not that bad, actually. It's pretty straight shot up the highway.
Yeah.
So it only takes me, if I take the back way, it actually only takes me about 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Granted
that's
that
not too
as long
terrible.
as the road construction is done, because I think the last time I went, I actually drove over around the detour sign.
Mm. Carol law breaking coals out here.
It was only like 20 yards of road construction. I could see the light, and I was like, oh no, fuck this. I'm just gonna drive around the sign.
I'm going for it.
Going for it. Just call me French Connection Carol, man.
I rewatched that movie a couple weeks ago for 100 for 100. Just out here shooting car chases, all illegal and whatnot.
Did
I like
did
it.
John
Carol Freakin.
Frankenheimer did no, William Friedkin did the French Connection.
Yeah, Freakin did.
Frankenheimer did the French Connection too.
Two. Yes.
Yes, because we are talking about Manchurian Candidate, and
Mm-hmm.
John Frankenheimer directed the first one
That's right, he did.
that we are
That's right,
doing.
he did. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I think it was it Tony Scott who did the second one? Who did the second one? Or
Jonathan
the
Demme.
John That's right, Jonathan Demme.
Jonathan Demme, yeah. I
All right, then. So are you
think it
ready
was
to?
one of his last films.
Oh, okay. Well, not a
And
bad film to go out on.
it's not a bad film to go out on. I don't think he had any really stinkers in his
No,
career.
no. So you want to get into this Manchurian can? I guess since we are putting this out on the regular Paprika feed, since I've suspended Patreon for now. If you haven't listened to Refried scenes before, what we do is since everyone always complains that that there's no good remakes out there, that the original's
Right.
always better. We just taking a little detour, a little stroll down original and remake lane to see,
Hmm?
how do these hold up between originals and remakes?
And it's been like 50-50.
Yeah, it's not been bad. I was at work at 3 o'clock this morning, bored out of my mind because I'm the only person in the building, trying to decide. I still haven't decided which one of these two I actually like better. So I guess I'll
This is,
figure it out by
yeah,
the end.
by the end when we have to vote. So yeah, sometimes the remake is actually better, but
Yeah.
is it
See,
in this
stop
case?
complaining. Yeah, I
We
guess we
shall
will
see.
find out. We shall see. Are we ready to? Oh, and I guess it's Carol and Daryl, if you haven't
Yeah.
realized that by now.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, well, you're
Hi
not
there.
seeing me.
Well, I see,
You're
and I
seeing me.
appreciate the wave.
Yes, I actually turned the video on.
I'm appreciative. I'm glad it makes for a more warm conversation.
Yes, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
So,
So you ready to get into this?
yeah, let's get into this. Manchurian
All right.
Candidate, 1962.
Yeah, 1962. Sinatra. This is only the second Frank Sinatra movie I've seen, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them. I've okay. I had not seen either of these films prior to watching them for the podcast.
Oh, okay.
This is odd. Yes, I am a movie junkie, but I don't like Frank Sinatra as a human being, so I tended to avoid his stuff.
Fair enough.
This included, but yeah, stars Frank Sinatra, Angela Lansbury, before
Yeah,
she started murdering people in
and
Cabot
writing
Hill.
about it.
Um, Janet Leigh and Lawrence Harvey, who
Yeah.
was the father of Domino Harvey, the rich
Oh,
girl
oh.
turned bounty hunter, if you remember that from the
Rich girl turned Keira Knightley.
yes. So it was a good film. It takes place right after the Korean War
Yeah. Yeah.
because Harvey plays Sergeant Shaw, Raymond Shaw,
Right.
whose troop does not like him. And it's pretty
Mm-mm.
obvious in the first scene that they just don't like him. They don't respect him at all. They're all in a brothel, and he's trying to get them to, we got to go out there,
Well,
guys. And
I see why they don't like him.
yeah, he's an incredibly cold and uptight person.
Right.
And Frank Sinatra is part of his troop, and they are ambushed because their local, I'm using air quotes, Korean interpreter.
Heavy air quotes.
Heavy air quotes, leads them into a trap.
Right.
The interpreter is played by Henry Silva, I believe his name is.
I just had it up. Yep, Henry Silva. Nothing about that sounds Asian.
No. This is definitely made in the era of Yellowface, and they just
lean into it hard.
I don't think any Asian character in this film is played by an Asian actor.
No.
So, but he leads them into a trap, and the entire company is hypnotized and brainwashed.
Right.
Because they want to put sleeper agents in the United States, and they figured this was a good way to do it. And
right.
Shaw is the one that I guess he took to it better than everybody else.
Yeah, I'm not sure how because I've seen the remake before, but I hadn't seen the original. And I was wondering the first time I saw the remake is why him specifically?
Yeah.
Is he the one that was turned?
It makes more sense in the remake, which we'll get to. Here, I mean, it kind of makes sense because of his family connections, but I'm assuming he was just the one that it took well.
The conditioning just stuck.
The conditioning just stuck. And he ends up actually, under hypnosis, killing 2 of his unit members. So he's just, And they don't remember any of it. None of the troop remembers anything. They come home, and Shaw is a war hero because he saved them. And anytime you ask any of the troop about Raymond Shaw, they're just like, oh, he's a wonderful human being. He is a terrific person, and we love him. And they all speak very robotically. Nothing.
The one thing I like about
there
at all, or they're just very wooden personalities. One thing I really like about this movie is how it starts. Is you see them lined up with the old ladies talking about the gardening, and you're just like, what is this all about? And then the camera transition is dope. It does like
really
the whole
good.
360 thing, right? And then you find out that's not what's happening at all. That's just happening inside their heads.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a brilliant way of showing it.
Yeah. So they go home, and Robert Shaw is awarded like the Medal of Honor. And he goes home to his family, and his mother and his stepfather. His stepfather's a senator, and his mother is an insane bitch. Expertly played by Angela Lansbury.
Angela Lansbury, who's had some variation of the same hairdo for 45 years.
No, I know. It's like she looks like she just walked off the set of Bedknobs and Broomsticks and then just walked back onto Murder, She Wrote. But she is so horrible in this film. She is
horrible,
manipulative, and kind of terrifying. But she wants Raymond to bolster her husband's political campaign, and he's like, nope, I don't want anything to do with you. And he goes to become a publisher. What you find out, because 2 of the members of the troop are having the same dreams because they're remembering him shooting people and killing people. And one of those is Frank Sinatra, who plays Marco. Is his name Marco?
Yeah.
I can't remember if they changed the name in the remake.
I'm pretty sure the last names are the same.
Yeah. Bennett. Yeah.
Ben Marco. Bennett Marco.
And he's having this dream as well. So he thinks that there's something weird going on here, and he wants to talk to Shaw. And Shaw has what we learn is that his mother is actually his handler in America.
You hate to see it.
And that she is the one who basically was okayed the conditioning of him. And his trigger is a red queen, Queen of Diamonds. And you get the, because he had a girlfriend before he went to war, and they were going to get married, but then his mom stepped in because she obviously was not good enough for her little boy. There's only one woman good enough for her little boy, and that's his mom.
And it's Angela Lansbury.
But when he comes back from the war, he re-ups that relationship again, and this woman ends up coming to a costume party dressed as the Queen of Diamonds and triggers him.
Yeah, I kind of like that twist. Not gonna lie to you, I like that twist.
It was interesting because the woman playing Jocelyn, who's his love interest, Shaw's love interest in the film, I can't remember her name, but she was on a Star Trek episode. She was on Who Mourns for Adonis. She falls in love with Apollo, and it's all I could think about whenever she was on the screen. It's like, Star Trek guest star.
I've seen all the original series, and that title sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's the one with Apollo where he grows really big and he stops the Enterprise with his hand.
That's right. That's right. Okay, I'm with you there. there.
Scotty was in love with her. Anyway, she is a senator's daughter, and her father is actually up for the vice presidential nomination. And Angela Lansbury, of course, wants her husband to get that spot.
Right.
So she triggers her son with the Red Queen to go kill this other senator. And he does, because he, the second he sees the Red Queen, he just does what he's told.
Yeah, shot through the carton of milk.
Yeah.
Wasting all sorts of good dairy products.
And unfortunately, his daughter is in the house at this point, and she comes running down, and he kills her too.
Yeah, it's tragic. It's tragic. I'm cool with the manipulation and with her wanting to take the senator out the way, but making him inadvertently kill the woman that he loves. That's what I was like. I'm finally putting my foot down.
Yeah, not even remembering he did it. Because he doesn't remember any of this. Meanwhile, Marco is still investigating all this stuff, and he gets his own love interest in the form of Janet Leigh. And this is my main issue with this film. Her character is weird.
Wild. Her character is wild. She pressed up on him real quick, fast.
Just like meets on a train, and within 30 seconds gives him her phone number and her address. And I'm like, damn, hungry much, woman?
And also goes home that day and breaks off with her fiance.
And the first phone call she gets about Marco is the police saying, can you come pick him up? It's like, okay, this is a huge red flag. What are you doing?
That's a red quilt. That's not a red flag.
It was just, I didn't understand her character at all.
No.
And because my first thought was, well, maybe she's the American handler and she's trying to trigger him or something, because she kept repeating numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, she's just horny.
Just horny. I understand her purpose of, I guess she kind of brings him out of the slump he was in to clear the fog so he can get to work, solving this whole bit of, but how they approached it was, Frank was a cool dude back in the day, but he wasn't that cool. Wasn't nobody hopping up on anybody like that. Like, she was fresh out of jail hungry.
Yeah. It was an awkward scene. The whole scene on the train was just kind of awkward and weird.
Yeah, weird.
And her character doesn't really add a lot to this film. So I was unsure why she was there. But the movie culminates because Shaw's stepfather is actually nominated for vice president.
Right.
So naturally his mother's like, I want you to kill the president so then he can become president.
Which let's back up for a second and talk about how Angela Lansbury treats her husband in this movie.
Oh my God. Incidentally, her husband was also a Star Trek guest.
Hey, they were just pulled him back in the day. What year is this movie? 1962. Wait, so this is before
4 years. Yeah, 4 years before Star Trek.
Okay,
I think
that's what I thought.
Star Trek was 66 to 69. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't understand how this dude got to be a senator in the first place.
I don't know. He is like, well, I understand now, looking at our political system right now, because this dude's a drunk. I don't think you ever see him sober in this film.
No.
He just makes up numbers on the fly. He gets up, oh, there's communists and there's 217 communists in the Senate. It's like, there's only 200 members in the Senate. I said 57. He's
so communists, they count as 2.
And he gets home and she's like, can we focus on a number? And the number they focus on is 57 because he puts Heinz 57 ketchup on his food.
Look, this is wonderful story writing. I don't know how this screenplay didn't win an Oscar, but it amazes me.
Yeah, she treats her husband like shit, but her husband is a drunk.
Yeah, he's his own piece of shit.
Yeah.
But even still, I was like, man, what are you putting up with this for? Like, I don't understand. Like, because he never seemed like he was really all that power hungry.
I'm assuming she had the money.
Oh, maybe you're right there. Yeah.
So, I don't know. But, yeah. So she triggers her son to actually kill the president.
Yeah.
And in the end, he overcomes his conditioning and shoots her and his stepfather.
I was cool with that.
And then himself, which was kind of sad.
Yeah. I watched the remake before the original, so knowing that they managed to prevent it in the remake, I was assuming that was going to happen, and I was like, oh, they actually went for it.
Yeah. He shoots himself in the head. I actually liked Lawrence Harvey's performance in this. The guy that played Shaw, Raymond Shaw. He's very wooden.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes sense that he's wooden because he has no control over much of what he does.
But he does seem like a completely different person when he runs off and marries his lovely lady. Like we don't get a little
tiny bit of that happiness.
Yeah, like, he's smiling.
Before here comes Frank with a whole deck of red painted on. It's like, Jesus, dude.
What a dick move, Frank.
But this is a good movie. It's very tense. I didn't understand the Janet Leigh character at all. So that bugged me.
Yeah.
That bugged me.
There's a little bit of surprises going on at the end. I know they have been, Angela Lansbury and her husband have been operating under the guise of, we need to root out these communists, when in the end, they themselves, or at least, I don't know if he was.
I don't think she's necessarily a communist. She's just using that to gain power, but she would basically do exactly what the communists are doing. She said, I just want to turn this place into something where martial law looks like chaos.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you're operating under communist. You want to install communist oppression, but you're not calling yourself a communist. It's
right.
Yeah.
She couldn't see that she identified with the very ideology she was fighting against in the first place. Which
right.
I'm not sure what her motivation. Oh, it's all a power grab.
It's all power.
She was the little finger of this whole bit of business.
Yeah. And of course, because it was 1962, she's not the senator. She's got to be behind the scenes pulling all the strings because.
Yeah, we can't have a woman senator in the movie.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But there's this really weird scene where she kisses her son right before she sends him out to kill the president, and it's not a motherly kiss.
No.
It's really kind of, ooh, okay, that puts a weird
spin. Again, they do it in the remake, so you see them kind of leading up into that in the original. I'm like, well, they're not going to do that in the 60s version, that's for sure. And yet again,
they did.
They did.
I think I read that Angela Lansbury was only like 4 years older than Lawrence Harvey in this movie, but she plays his mother.
Okay.
It's all about the hairstyle, I think.
She's like, look at this hair. They're going to think I'm at least 45.
But the best thing about this film is definitely Angela Lansbury because she's just cold. She's such a cold-hearted bitch in this film.
She is merciless in this film, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, because all I know of Angela Lansbury is Murder, She Wrote. So I just see her as like this lovable old lady getting into adventures and whatnot. And then to see this, I was like, well, wow.
She,
Can't trust her in the streets.
No, and I think she was Frankenheimer wanted her in the part. The studio wanted somebody else, and I can't remember who, but he was like, "No, this is going to be Angela Lansbury."
Okay, right on. So he had a clear
Yeah,
vision for what he wanted in this movie.
yeah, and she delivers. She's the best thing about the film, really.
I think I will go ahead and agree with that. Uh, Frank was pretty mediocre, hitting his marks and
Frank,
saying his
yeah,
lines.
Frank was Frank.
Frank was
I
Frank.
never thought he was a really great actor.
Yeah, no,
So, so
no.
yeah, I was like, okay, he's not terrible, but
Yeah, I think Shaw and his mom were the two best parts.
yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. We can't move on without talking about his Chinese handler.
Oh God, okay,
That dude is
yeah.
some wild business.
Oh, okay. The Chinese handler who's not Chinese, I think the actor was Turkish or something.
Yeah,
Um, well, he looked a little bit more Asian than Henry Silva, that's for damn sure.
you know, you got to start somewhere.
This dude really enjoyed his work. Just because he has Shaw go to this mental hospital so they can check his conditioning. And the doctor's like, well, how do we check? And he's like, well, maybe I'll tell him to kill somebody. Is well, who are we going to kill? And he just like smiles and looks at the doctor. And I'm like, dude. And he's like, no, we'll have him kill his publisher. His publisher's his boss at the publishing company. And I'm like,
this dude really enjoyed his work, and he had a sense of humor about the whole thing.
He did, yeah.
I'm kind of upset he kind of drops off like halfway through the movie.
Yeah, they don't do anything with the character after Shaw goes to the mental institution. I think you see him once, and that's it. He just kind of disappears.
Yeah, after they kind of let you know that Lansbury is the one running things, they kind of focus more on that instead of this guy.
Which is unfortunate because the whole scene where they're being brainwashed and they're seeing the country club and the women's flower guild, and he's telling the audience that what they're seeing is a flower guild, and it's really kind of interesting because each character sees different women from their own perspective, so which was kind of nice as well. But yeah, that dude, he was kind of he was also a good part of this movie because he just enjoyed his freakish Frankenstein crap way so much.
Yeah, the scene that you really get to see him shine in when you know, I guess they like fake that injury to give him a reason to kind of get away from people, and he comes in there with his umbrella seat or whatever that was. That made me pause and rewind. Like, what is that contraption, and why do we have him in 2020? Yeah, he really enjoyed that scene, definitely. And that's when I was like, I hope we get to see more of this guy. And unfortunately,
we didn't. So that is the 1962 version of the Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2004, and it is remade by Jonathan Demme.
Woohoo! 2004. I was stationed at my first duty station, and I saw the trailers for this, and I was like, I need to go see this movie. And then I didn't. And I just saw it for the first time a year or two ago.
This is another one where I had not seen it. So this stars Denzel Washington as Marco.
Yeah.
And Liev Schreiber as Raymond Shaw.
Perfect casting.
Yeah, and they ditched the whole stepfather character because Meryl Streep plays his mother, who is an actual senator.
Yeah, I think them ditching the stepfather was a smart move because he made no sense in the first place.
And I don't think you could write that boozy, loud character and have it work in 2004. In 1962, it's Mad Men, everybody's drunk. 2004, not quite so much.
Plus, Meryl Streep is shouldering enough villainy to you don't need that character.
Yeah, you don't need that. And then, sorry, I got a notification there. And then they did something different with the Rosie character, the Jeannie Rose character, which is the Janet Leigh character.
Right.
Here she has a little bit more. She makes a little bit more sense.
She had a little more agency.
Yeah, she's a federal agent assigned to follow Marco.
Yeah. So it kind of makes sense why she's pushing up on him a little bit in
Yeah,
the train.
because you do get that train sequence where once again she's just, "Hi, I'm the bagger at your supermarket. I know where you shop, and I know what you buy, and I know your bank, and here's my phone number." And I'm like, "Okay, here we go again." Weird women just inviting obviously mentally unhinged men into their apartment.
I guess it was all the rage.
So this one takes place after the Gulf War, or during the Gulf War.
Yeah.
And once again, the troop is led into a trap. Um, Here, it's not the Chinese and the Russians who brainwash the troop. It's a global company called the Manchurian Corporation,
Mm.
um, that's trying to uh, test their. It's like a neurotransmitter that they put into your brain, and they kind of fluff it up and say, oh, it's going to help with Alzheimer's and neural diseases, and you can wipe away bad memories and eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. Um,
Which is about the same year.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But here they implanted in Shaw because they want a president that they can control, because he is actually running as vice president.
Right, right. So the whole theory of getting him the vice presidency just to kill the president,
Right.
have him ascend there is still intact, which still makes no sense to me.
And at least they would control the president completely. It wouldn't be some drunk that they'd have to, have his wife control.
That's true. That's true. I was just thinking about it from the way of like he rose to stardom too quick. If you would have went straight to presidency.
Yeah. That kind of struck me as odd, because I don't even think he's a senator when they nominate him for the vice president. His mom is.
His mom? No, I think he might be. He might have been, because I know they asked him about his policies too, and he says, me and my mom have different. We don't always see the eye to eye, or we have different thoughts on things. So I think he was already a government official, some capacity.
Yeah, but again, he wins a Medal of Honor. They're brainwashed to think that he saved the entire troop except for two people, who of course he killed. And here in this film, Marco kills one of them.
Yeah.
So they're both brainwashed very deeply.
One of them being Falcon. They killed Black Captain America.
They killed Falcon. And Liev Schreiber's brother, who's always in his movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Pablo Schreiber is.
Was that the other guy that was killed?
Yeah, the other guy that was killed.
Good on Liev for giving his brother some work from time to time.
Yeah, he always shows up in his movies, just bit parts usually. But
oh, nice.
They just shot your brother in the head there, dude.
It's the Sean Gunn, the James Gunn.
Yeah. So they get back, and of course, Jeffrey Wright is the other troop member that's having these really horrible dreams. And he goes to Denzel and goes, "Are you having these dreams?" And Jeffrey Wright's character is obviously unhinged at this point.
Yeah, obviously. Always great, Jeffrey Wright.
I know. I like Jeffrey Wright a lot.
Yeah.
Best thing about Westworld. So Denzel Washington starts to, again, investigate, because he wants to know why they're having these dreams and why they're remembering things that they don't think happened. And
doesn't Denzel initially he lies to Jeffrey Wright and says, "No, I'm not.
I'm not having dreams."
When he obviously was.
Yeah, because he tells
I don't know why he wouldn't just say, "Oh, yeah, that's weird. We're having the same dream."
I think it's because the character of, was it Melvin? I think that Jeffrey Wright plays, is so unhinged at that point. He's obviously hasn't slept in days and days. He's got notebooks full of scribbles and strange drawings, and
he's looking pretty haggard.
Yeah, so I think he's just like, "No, I think you're off." But he tells the upper brass in the military that he's having these dreams and he wants to investigate, and they forbid him. They tell him, "No, take your meds." So
yeah, I found it interesting the way the military handles this in both circumstances. And this one, they're like, "No, take your meds." And the other one, they seem like they care about Frank more. They're like, "You need a leave of absence to get your mind right."
Yeah, so and they actually, in the 62, they assign him somebody to help him,
Mhm.
at least as a liaison. Here, they're just like, no, take your meds and then you're out, totally out. They don't seem to. I don't know how
Care
realistic that is. That they don't care. It might be realistic.
a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
um,
What I
but
seen?
yeah, you get Miguel Ferrer there as the upper army brass that pounds tables and looks stern. I think Miguel Ferrer just
That's just
made an
him.
entire career out of being a complete asshole.
Yeah. He just looks through the script and he's like, "There's no table for me to pound here." So obviously, write one in, or I can't do this.
um,
And it's
but
never smiled.
no, well, not in any way like normally. He'd like sneer. That was it. Um, but Marco continues to investigate and goes to see Melvin and breaks into his apartment, and the walls are covered with press clippings of Shaw, and it's like obviously okay, this dude's crazy, and then
Yeah.
of course he turns up dead. They find his body in the Potomac, Melvin's, and then Shaw or Marco finds out the entire platoon has died of quote unquote
Yeah.
natural causes, although I don't know how a car accident is a natural cause. But
I'm pretty sure you can list that under car accidents.
yes. But he meets Rosie on the train, and she, invites him back to her apartment.
Yeah, because it's Denzel
Here,
Washington. That's what you do.
that is what you do. And he immediately goes crazy in her apartment, and because he finds a tracker in his back, and he
Mm-hmm.
cuts it out. Just finds a knife and cuts it out, and then drops
What?
it down the sink. Dude.
What's this? Is 2004, right? So
Yeah.
Born Identity is like 03,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit later than that. But yeah, this is just the era of dudes finding shit cut in them, or in
Yeah.
them is cutting it out.
I'm not sure what what that thing in the back was supposed to be, because when they're showing the neurological thing, they're putting that directly into their brain.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was just to keep. It's just literally just a tracker. Yeah, just
That's
to
what
keep
I'm
tabs
assuming.
on where they are. Yeah.
But he cuts his out and then goes to a friend of his who's like this German dude in a basement with a bunch of monkeys.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was like a vet, a
I don't
shady
know if he
vet.
was just like a shady vet or just running experiments or some hacker with a bunch of monkeys.
Monkey hacking,
But
lucrative business.
he says that okay, if they did this to your brain, we can reboot it. And then he like gives him an electric shock.
Yeah.
Is that what I wasn't clear on what exactly he did to his head.
That's what I assumed. It was like
It
that
was some sort
electric
of
shock
extreme
kind
electric
of,
shock, and then puts him in
yeah,
Central Park, and then
kick
calls up
started him.
Rosie and said, "Hey, he's in Central Park. Go pick him up." And
Yeah,
because he
I'm
wakes up,
assuming he zaps the dude, he drops him off in Central Park, and then calls Rosie for him. And
yeah,
he's like, "Hey, come pick up this dude. I kickstarted his brain."
yeah, because he wakes up in Central Park, and he has trouble remembering certain things, but he starts to remember again. But this doesn't undo all of the neural stuff that Manchurian Corporation did to him, because he can still be triggered. Because in here, both of these guys have triggers.
Yeah, I think the brain zap takes away the crazy and kind of sets him on this path of what he needs to do, but it doesn't 100% get him back to normal.
Right.
It puts him on the path towards normal-ish.
Yeah, because again, you have the senator that opposes Shaw and his mom.
Right.
Here is played by John Voight. And Marco goes to him with all of this information and says, look, this is what they did to us. They implanted stuff into us. They have messed with our brains. They've messed with Shaw's brain. You really don't want him anywhere near the presidency. And so naturally this dumbass senator takes all this information and goes over to Shaw and his mom.
Dumbass John Voight. I go to any other senator but John.
I would
Shaw's
go to anybody else and go, maybe we should rethink this. But no, he goes to them. It's like, this is what I'm going to go to the press with on Monday, unless you step down, and giving them
Classic trope.
plenty of time to kill him. And this scene's funny because John Voight apparently kayaks, his senator kayaks, and so he goes out for a morning kayak, and then Shaw shows up because his mom has triggered him. And here it's just, there's no card involved. It's just repeating their name
in a certain way. Pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he goes over there and just walks into the water and drowns him.
That is some of the worst kayak acting I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's obvious John Voight was not comfortable in a kayak. Like, why would you have him kayak if he can't kayak?
Yeah, you could have thought of something else, man. Come on.
But yeah, he drowns him, and then he drowns his daughter. Here, they're not romantically involved, really. They used to be.
But
she's
old
not.
Mom put a smash on that.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like Jocelyn's all that interested in rekindling any romance.
No, Vera Farmiga up in there.
Yeah. Because I remember Shaw tells her at a party, "I have not had a meaningful relationship since you," and it's like, that was 15 years ago. You must be the loneliest person in the world.
Like,
damn.
That's not helping his psyche at all,
No.
Oh.
But yes, he kills the senator, he kills his daughter, and he doesn't remember any of it because that's the way the implant in his brain works.
Well, this one, towards the end, he starts to, though, because he does have that exchange with Denzel. He was like, I killed them, didn't I?
Yeah, he's pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a more interesting twist on, because it makes a more tortured person, right? Like the dude in the first one, just like, I don't remember killing nobody, but this one, he's got that in the back of his head, like something's not right. Like what
in the first one, he didn't think anything. He knew something was wrong as well, which is how he was able to overcome it and shoot his mom and his stepfather rather than the person he was supposed to kill.
Yeah.
Here, he becomes vice president. They actually
they pull it off.
They pull it off. He actually becomes vice president. Denzel is kicked out of the military for a brief moment. And then Meryl Streep's character decides, I'm just going to trigger Marco, and I'll have Marco shoot the president. And then my son can be president because he's, vice president.
Right. So, which does not make sense.
No. But you also realize that she is not following the protocol of Manchurian Company.
Right.
Because they come down hard on her when Shaw kills the senator and his daughter, because they come over and go, that's not what we wanted you to do. And she's like, what are you going to do about it? It's Meryl Streep. She's actually quite good, but she's like, what are you going to do about it? Seriously, what are you going to do about it?
Nope, she delivered it just like that.
Yep.
They're trying to tell her he's not just a petty thug that we dispatch to do assassinations.
Right. Which is not what you want him to do, because what you want him to do is, make good business deals so the Manchurian Company can make billions of dollars.
Yeah, they're just painting a target on the back doing this.
Right. So it didn't really make sense. It made more sense in the first one because he's not the political person.
Right. Yeah.
He's just her estranged son who doesn't want anything about politics. Here, it just seems like this dude's nominated for vice president. Wouldn't he have Secret Service following him around everywhere?
Right? Wouldn't they have cased that joint out before the whole thing started? Unless Denzel will just hide up in there hours beforehand. But what doesn't make sense to me is, and I was trying to figure out how this would play out in real life. Because, they win, but they have not been sworn to office. So the president-elect is killed. The vice president-elect, how would that work? Would he then become president-elect? Would they?
Don't think it would work that way.
No.
You have to actually get sworn in and then have the president be assassinated.
Right. You got to do it at the swearing, not at the ceremony.
At the party after the nomination. I don't think it would work like they thought it would work. But in the end, it doesn't matter because Shaw overcomes his conditioning, and this is what I didn't get here, because he's supposed to step on a certain spot on the floor, and that's when Marco's supposed to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't step on that.
Right.
But then, he pulls his mom into a dance, and they're dancing, and he nods at Marco, and Marco shoots them instead. And I was like, I'm not sure how that worked.
Did Marco just overcome his business?
But if Marco's
and be like,
overcoming his business, why would he shoot them?
Yeah, why would he shoot them at all? Yeah, that's a good question. Huh. Never even thought about that.
It's like, okay, this ending, I wasn't particularly fond of having Marco be the shooter anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just made Marco way too much of a, I don't know, just not a strong character. Everything he does just seems to be like somebody's telling him what to do.
Yeah.
But I understand that they wanted to give Denzel more to do, because Frank's character in the original doesn't do a whole lot.
He doesn't do a whole lot. He spends a lot of his time either being crazy, waiting for Shaw to call when he doesn't. Mm-hmm. And he's only got like one or two real pivotal scenes, like when he shows up at the deck full of Queen Diamonds. That's when he gets all.
Yeah, or when he beats up on the non-Asian character.
Yeah, actually, I like that fight scene. But here, but here in this version, now that Shaw is the political figure, that takes out Shaw being the shooter, which means you have to kind of put Denzel in that shooter place.
Yeah. So from a story standpoint, that's the character they've got to work with. Yeah. But I think I liked it better with Shaw not being the political person. Mm-hmm. But because you're dealing with a corporation rather than a foreign government, I understand how they had to change the story.
Right.
But at the end of this, all of the higher ups of the Manchurian Corporation are, watching this go down on TV, and they're all like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do?" Because the feds have basically rewritten everything and taken Denzel out of all the footage, and they've put in this other dude, this Manchurian Corporation dude, to make it look like they assassinated.
Yeah, which I was like, the feds are going through an awful lot of work just for this. I don't think this how it works.
Also doesn't make much sense. But they're staring at the television, and some of them are crying, and they're like, "How are we ever going to survive?" I'm like, "Oh, come on. If you're like, you've got secret bases of operation in foreign countries where you're inserting neural implants into army members, and you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you have several layers of backup."
Yeah, you got some expendable people you can throw to the wolves.
That you can just go, it's like, yeah, he hasn't worked for us in years. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we have no affiliations.
Right. I'm like, no, they would have a press release out in 10 minutes, mm-hmm. and they would survive this. So
I particularly liked the feds working in what appeared to be Microsoft Paint. Airbrushing
Denzel out of the footage. I'm like, and what's sad is he's wearing his army uniform in that footage, because he's photographed coming into the party. Yeah. And he's wearing his army uniform, which is bulky because it's got medals all over it and stuff. Yeah. And when they're airbrushing him out, they just put in this dude in his suit, and it's like, oh my God, this dude looks huge. This boom.
What I didn't understand is why Denzel needed to be in his military uniform in order to pull this whole bit of business off.
I don't know. Okay, my battery just hit low, so I'm plugged in, so I'm hoping I still have a few minutes here.
Okay.
What did I want to say? Oh, I did notice during this that Jonathan Demme loves people talking to the camera. Close-ups of people talking to the camera. There is so much of it in this film, and then I went back and rewatched Silence of the Lambs, and there's a lot of it in that too. He just was really big on people.
Making sure that audience is sucked in, man. You got to make the contact with the audience.
Yeah.
So when it's all said and done, what are you going with? You going with the original, or are you going with the remake?
This one was a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I had such a problem with Janet Leigh's character in the first one that it kind of
Yeah.
soured my my view of the film.
Hmm.
But I think I'm going to edge toward the original just by like a 51 to 49 margin.
Yeah.
Mostly for Angela Lansbury. She gets that extra percentage point, I think.
Right. And I think I'm right there with you when it's all said and done. Like Lansbury, like Streep is good, but Lansbury holds it down to a
Lansbury,
whole
yeah.
different
And
level.
I think the story made a little bit more sense, the original. Here they tried to throw in nanotechnology and, neural implants. And I'm like, you're kind of making things a bit more
More complicated than they needed to be.
complicated than they needed to be.
Yeah.
But it's a close one here.
Yeah,
it's a close
I
one
agree
here.
with that. I agree with that.
So,
All right, the edge goes to the original in this case. So
yes,
it's about time to first figure out what we're going to do for the month of May.
next. Yeah, now that we can actually do this, let me pull up the list. Handy dice.
So what we have here is a 20-sided die, and
Just
whatever
dropped it
number,
on my lap. Let me do that again.
whatever number she lands on corresponds to.
19. The Jungle Book.
God damn it, Carol! No, wait a minute. Now Are we going with the animated and the
The
Favreau Jungle
animated
Book?
and the Favreau. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. I can get down with that. I thoroughly enjoyed the Favreau joint. I've been meaning to watch it again, anyways.
I haven't watched the original, the Disney. I know they're both Disney, but I
Yeah.
haven't
The
watched
old
the
school.
animated one in ages.
Me either.
So
Look,
this
I
will
got
be
Disney
interesting.
Plus now. Yeah. Yeah. So
Something
this is.
completely different. We go from the Manchurian Candidate to the Jungle Book.
Well, I, for one, look forward to this nonsense. You
Oh
got
my
anything
God, we
else?
got Christopher Walken singing. Yay. Oh, okay.
Oh, already rethinking this idea. Okay. Well, I guess that about wraps up this episode.
That does.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, we
I'm glad
made
we
it.
got to actually record. Yay.
Yeah. So I guess this might be hopefully not it doesn't end up being the norm, but
No.
hopefully we'll only have one or two more of these before the situation returns back to something of a normalcy.
Yes, let's hope.
Let's hope so. But if that's not the case, we always have Zoom to help us
We
out.
have Zoom.
We have
That's
Zoom.
right.
We can keep doing these bad boys.
That's right.
All right, then. So until next month, you guys out there, take it easy and we'll have a good one.
Practice